So starting the test drive in this Hummer EV, very quick, very, very quick. It's so weird because this thing is ginormous. But I mean, this is just nuts, just all that's going on here. Now, right off the bat, I will say having these roof panels here, especially when you're driving, they're creaking quite a bit. But if you're driving this, especially with this Bose sound system, it's probably not going to bother you that much. It does have more of an off-road feel due to, you know, having the creaking roof panels. I kind of feel like it reminds me of the old T-tops, which is basically what it is. And then on top of that, just having this huge open space. It's nostalgic but futuristic at the same time. And this has a pretty wide stance, so I'm glad I'm on these wider roads here. But just with how, I guess, tight the steering is, it's not necessarily tight, but it doesn't feel like I'm driving a dually, even though this is about as wide as one. It makes it that much, you become more confident driving this thing, let me put it that way. And a lot of that has to do with just the visibility here. Even though the hood is kind of coming out on the sides here, I'm able to see how the hood is sloped down in front of me, so it just makes visibility that much better. But honestly, we'll see when I get it up to speed, but right here, it's very simple, very easy to drive and keep in the lines. It doesn't feel as big as it is. Now we'll see as we get on the interstate how that changes, and then we'll see how the Super Cruise helps. And I don't know why I'm yelling. I think I'm just excited to drive this thing, but so far the road noise, and I mean the road noise, of course you can hear these huge tires. They're extremely loud, but there's like a propulsion sound going on in here too, and it pairs perfectly with that, and it just makes it more enjoyable, I think. Now again, even though this is quite a wide vehicle, just how easy it is to see out of, and just how you can, just the steering and everything, it makes it so simple. Like, I don't feel like I have to keep both hands on the wheel, and I don't feel extremely dangerous here. Let me put it this way, the steering feel is plush, but it's still, I feel like I'm in control of the vehicle. So when I hit a bump, I don't feel like the steering wheel is gonna jerk to one side or the other. So it's just a perfect steering feel for a vehicle that's this big, that you might be a little uncomfortable with at first driving just because of how huge it is. But again, it doesn't feel that big, and that makes you feel even more confident driving it. Now we're gonna take it on this back road here, and we're gonna see how it handles and see how much its weight shows out here. So I'm giving it a little throttle coming in this corner here. Now it's easy to control, but as you kind of go into corners, you have a little bit of body roll there, and you can especially hear the tires as you come into those tight corners. But all in all, it's still pretty easy to handle. And what's really helpful is this lane keeping system I have on here. I like that it doesn't intrude as much as you'd expect, but as you start going out of the lines, it's like, hey, just letting you know, I'm gonna nudge you back a little bit. So it's not intrusive at all, like pretty much every other system that I've experienced in a GM vehicle. But I also haven't gone out of the lines that much either, so that might have something to do with it as well. I'm gonna give it some throttle here. I mean, this thing just pulls crazy, and that's where it really starts to show its weight, is when you just put your foot to the floor. It's nuts. We'll put our foot down again. Wow, oh my gosh. Oh, that's fun to do. Now again, especially like coming down that curve there, it was wanting to get away just a little bit. So you want to be very, very hard on the steering wheel there and make sure it doesn't get away from you. But man, this thing, gosh, it's just so huge. And the fact that it's going as fast as it is makes it even crazier. Well, let's try this Super Cruise out. Now, wind noise is pretty prevalent. Of course, you do have these transparent roof panels here, so you're gonna have some wind noise. But insulation, in my opinion, is pretty good. It's not as loud as a Jeep is, not as loud as a Bronco with a soft top. Even the hard top, I think, might be a little louder than this, but impressive sound acoustics all the way around. The tires are, of course, a bit intrusive, not really bothersome. Again, you have this 14-speaker Bose sound system that is killer. It'll take care of all of that noise for you unless you want to hear it. And especially if you were to have the roof panels off, I think it helps having this loud of a system so you can still listen to your music while you have the windows down, the roof off. And with this being an electric truck, I think you get like, I think the EPA ended up rating it like 320 miles on a charge or something like that. Especially if you have a solar setup. It is thirsty, but you could pretty much be self-sufficient with a vehicle like this if you had enough juice coming from the sun. And I think that's what's neat about this Hummer, especially when you think about the older ones that were getting 6 miles a gallon. Oh man. So it's neat to see how GMC has made this a whole different animal. Gosh, this thing pulls like crazy. But a very, very impressive truck. And I have one on reserve for 2024, and I've been changing my mind, going back and forth if I want to get it, but I'm definitely getting it now because this is just, there's just something about being behind the wheel of one of these. It's just so much fun to drive. It's actually very comfortable. The ride quality is great. And if you're on the interstate where it might be a little harder to keep in the lines, the Super Cruise takes care of all that for you. So the only downside of this is going to be the price and how heavy it is, but that's kind of a gift and a curse in my opinion. But this will bring me to the end of my review of this 2023 Hummer EV pickup.